Hey, this is Dave from Bay Stencil. You know, Bay Stencil started in the San Francisco Bay Area, and so we've kind of been doing these Bay Area sports team logos these last couple of days. And today we're going to do the Golden State Warriors, and notice that there's a 3-color stencil here. We got white, the gold, and the blue, the navy blue, or not navy blue, royal blue. I'd call that. It's pretty close to royal blue. And so we've got these 3 stencils on the wall here. There's the gold, there's the blue, and here's the white. Now, true to form, we're not going to paint the white layer because the white layer is just going to give us a big outline. It's going to give us a big white outline on the wall. We don't really want that, so we're going to leave this layer out. There may be a reason to use it a little bit later on, but I think we're probably going to do without it. We're just going to paint the blue and the gold and see how that comes out. Let's paint the blue first. All right, that's really clear what we're going to see here. Now, notice that I'm about to put a kind of a filigree layer, that gold layer, on top of this blue layer. And when I do filigree, I'm really going to hope and pray that the filigree gets exactly right onto this layer behind it. But I can actually do something that's even a little bit smarter than that. What I could do is I could just go ahead and fill in the blue all around in this circular part right here, because I know that the only color that needs to cover the blue is the gold. So I'm going to do that, because if I don't do that, then I'm going to end up having a hard time making the gold cover exactly the parts that are uncovered and have there be no uncovered parts in the final version. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that. I'm going to use a slightly different cap for that so that I get a little closer to the edges. And then finally, I'm going to fill in these bridges just a little bit. You know, if this were a physical stencil, what I would have done is I would have just cut it here. I would just cut it here and let all these parts fall out. Then I would have the Warriors that I want with the blue circle and then with the gold on the interior. But I don't have a physical stencil. I don't have scissors that I can cut in virtual stencil land, so I'm just going to do it this way. One other reason for doing it this way is that you don't know that you're never going to want to use this stencil again, because maybe sometime you're just going to want to put that stencil right on the wall in black, just the way it is. And if you do that, if you have that stencil and you can do that really quick and put that on the wall just that way, it's super nice. So maybe you don't want to cut your stencil up. Maybe you want to keep it that way, and this is a way of letting you keep the stencil that way and still paint it clean this time. Let's put the gold on and see how it looks. Okay, now basically, I really like the way this looks. There are a couple things that I think might be nice to fix. Some of those are just making sure that these bridges don't really show up poorly. If you're using real paint and you're painting yellow on top of blue that you've recently painted, you might want to, when you first lay that gold layer stencil down, you might want to hit it with white and just let it dry for like 3 minutes, and then put the yellow over it. The reason is that on a dark surface, the yellow is not going to be as bright as it would be if it were on white. Because this is virtual stencil and I can just paint yellow right over blue, there's no problem. But in a real world situation, you'd probably want to paint a little bit of white first, let that dry, and don't move the stencil. Just go in like 3 minutes later and just put yellow over it and make sure that the stencil doesn't get wet with the paint, so that you don't have yellow and white paint mixing together. You want a very light coat of white and a light coat of yellow. So I'll fix that. The other thing is that I think I would kind of like there to be something kind of around or underneath that blue to make the letters rise up off the background a little bit. So I could do one of two things. One thing is I could have offset the stencil at the very beginning and done a little shadow underneath the Warriors that's like a gray shadow to make it rise off the surface. The other thing I can do is right now I can take my white stencil, put it on there, and I can just put a little bit of white underneath those letters or around those letters to make the letters seem like they stand out a little bit more with contrast. Let's do that and then let's be done. Meanwhile, I'll just take a picture of this really quick so that we have it to compare with how it does after we screw it up. Okay, so I know I'm going to get a little bit of a letterboxing effect here because no matter how faint you are around these edges here, you're going to have a little bit of paint that comes right up to the edge, and it's going to leave a line. So there's going to be a little bit of a, you're going to see a little bit of a line indicator, probably right here and probably right here. You'll see it right next to the blue orb, but I think in general it's going to be a little bit better than it was before. And let's just take and see. So to me, Golden State Warriors stands out more here. It's going to be a little bit better once I clean up the blue and the yellow, but I think I'm going to leave that as an exercise for the reader. I'm pretty happy with this, and if I had more time, I might try to come up with a totally different treatment for the letters. Namely, I would put the stencil down first, just a little bit offset, and do a little bit of gray around the edges, and then I would put the stencil right where I want it to be in the center, and Golden State Warriors would appear to hover above those other two. Maybe I'll do that as a little more future exercise. Okay, this is Dave signing off from Bay Stencil. Okay, so here's the bonus. I think I want to illustrate two things. One thing is I want to illustrate putting this up really fast just with the one stencil using black only. And the second thing is I want to show you how to get a little bit of a relief effect in here very quickly, and I think it'll be kind of nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly mark out where I want this thing to be. I'm going to put one layer down, and then I'm going to move the stencil, shift the stencil, make a quick run through, and then do something else to it. Okay, let's see what this does. All right, so we got two things. One is we introduced some of the yellow, not by painting a yellow stencil, but just by making some kind of random marks in yellow on the background so that the yellow comes through. The second thing is we got some 3D effect with the letters here, which I like. And there's no reason we couldn't have done it with the whole stencil, but I think it looks better to just see the letters raised because it makes it look like the letters are coming out and you can read Golden State Warriors better. So if I compare this one to this one, I could have executed this one a little bit better, but notice that this one's on a white background, so it has the advantage of visibility over this one. This one looks flatter, it's more true to the original colors, but I like this one because I like this one because it totally looks like Oakland Raiders reinterpreted as Golden State Warriors stencil. Okay, pretty happy with this. Have fun with the stencil. You can download it from the site. This is Dave signing off from Bay Stencil.